Next, you're most likely gonna jump on a phone call or on a Zoom meeting with a hiring manager because you went through what we call filtering. They filter out all the people they basically want to make sure you're smart or not. You showed your skills, you're smart, good. Now, manager wants to talk to you first before he is gonna waste time of other engineers, right? He want to make sure that you are a team fit for his company, for his team. It could be engineering manager, it could be director. In the smaller companies, it could be even VP or senior director. So what that means you have to make sure you talk in the right terms. And what I mean, I've seen a lot of failures at that stage. And people think like, oh my God, why I failed? Am I like non-technical? No, you're technical. You just said something that actually broke, or changed the mindset of engineering manager or hiring manager about yourself and what it is. And let's talk about those things. So, number one, before you join on a call with engineering manager, read job description. Download the app, use the website if possible. If you are going for the company doing business to business model, try to educate yourself about the company. Even if the company is not public facing, you still can dig the information about the product. At least you can have context for the conversation. If you do not have that context, guess what? If they ask you, hey, by the way, have you ever used our application? You say no. Like, interesting. So why I should hire you? So you want to make sure you study a company in and out before you go in for that phone call. Very, very important. And by the way, just mention something, right? That you are excited about this. So let's say, like, for instance, if we're going to talk about, I don't know, like Tinder, right? You could be married, right? You could have kids, but you said, I'm excited about product. I read an amazing article how to change the landscape of, of relationships with the millennials. Although I am like a different age right now, don't date anymore, but that's amazing concept that, I mean, I wish I could use when I was a younger age. You can say that. It will, definitely please the hiring manager that you're interested about project. And you can say, for the matter of fact, I downloaded the app, I played with the application, and I was surprised about and start naming about features. Because when you talk about in details about application and make few points, it will please the hiring manager that you know the product, and you as an engineer look at this and maybe have even suggestions. Say, by the way, I think if we change this feature to, to left or right, that's going to improve 50% of the user engagement. Boom. This is so important. When I've been on the phone call and asked, hey, by the way, have you ever used Tinder before? I say, no, I'm married. I was like, so what? I'm married too. I have a kid. I'm married too for 10 years. But doesn't mean that you don't have to use the product that you try to go for interview. And people say this, I don't want to talk to this person anymore. It means he's not interested. He finds excuses not to use the product. So why are you even applying, right? Another interesting question that people ask in that conversation is, do you have any questions about the company? And people say no. And this is it. If you say no, most likely you're not going to get a second chance. You want to come prepared. You want to ask them, by the way, what's the size of the team I'm going to work with? How many people, how many iOS, how many Android, how many backend engineers? What kind of team structure do you have? Is it the pod system for, or this is like you work in a Kanban, Agile, whatever. What is the system you're working with? Is the application written natively, or it's a hybrid? What are you guys using for the backend? If it's not the secret, I would like to learn. Is it the Google protocol buffers, or using the open socket? Doesn't matter. You start asking questions. Be prepared. Try to look at their engineering forums. Every company have blog posts nowadays. So they actually talk about their technology stack. Dive into the technology stack. What are you guys using for CI? If not, when you plan to use CI? What kind of test coverage do you have right now? What kind of test automation frameworks do you use right now? You want to bombardier, and then if you ask all this question, the engineering manager will have impression that you're extremely interested in this role. And if you're gonna do poorly, I mean, maybe not so poorly, but so at your interview, following interview with other engineers, he will already put you on top of the list in his mind. And even if you're gonna do, let's say, 4 interviews with other 4 engineers, and 2 of them would be like, I would say, okay, he, as an engineering manager, will weigh his decision. Remember, who is decision maker, right? Usually they have more voice. They're gonna listen to everybody's opinion. And if it's gonna be 50-50, his opinion will win. He's hiring manager, right? Or she. Okay, it's very, very important to be a humble interview and also interested in the conversation about the product. Okay, very important. Another biggest failure I've seen in the interview, when you come to the company doing certain role, for instance, they put in job description that they want you to write client-facing testing, like using, let's say, Espresso for Android. And then during the interview with the hiring manager, or even with the other engineer, you ask the question, what do you think if you will have to write backend testing? Or what do you think if you would have to do performance testing? And you're gonna say, you know what, I didn't sign up for this. I read your job description and I know Espresso. I don't know how to write backend testing, so my answer, no. Guess what? Done. Nobody wants to talk to you anymore. You cannot answer the question in a negative way, even if you don't know this. You can't. Nowadays, you cannot afford this. You have to even positively elaborate on that. Say, hey, John, I didn't, I mean, during the, when I was browsing through the job description, I didn't see this. However, I'm really interested in this. I know my career specifically was last 6 months focusing on Android automation with Espresso, and that's where I'm very proficient in. However, I'm super interested to go to backend. This is my, I would say, not my strongest side, but with my engineering skills, I'm engineer, right? And I'm senior engineer. I would like to brush up the skills, and I would be more than happy to help you guys at that matter. Guess what? You didn't say no. You didn't say that you know this, but you showed an interest to participate in that project. Guess what? There's a very high chance you're never gonna do this. But as the engineering managers, they use the tricks of hiring managers. They use the tricks to see how much you want to learn. Because if they hire mid-level or senior person, they kind of understand that you are there, you are the ceiling, right? You're on top of the industry. But they want to make sure you're humble, you're eager to learn, and you're hungry. Okay, that's why they ask this provocative question. It doesn't mean you will have to do this. They want to make sure you are ready to do this and you want to do this. And if you say no and show no interest into this, they're gonna cross your name right away. And again, I've been a hiring manager, and I actually done consulting before, and I've seen the biggest failures when people said no to when I've been asked to do something else because they didn't feel comfortable about this. Very sad, but that was true. And people thought they did very good in the interview. They answered all the questions, they did all the assignments, and they failed the interview. And when I was asking the hiring manager why the person failed the interview, they said, because when we asked the person how to do this and that, the person said no. I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. And that's, again, I share with my previous experience, okay? And besides technical questions, guys, let's shift the gears towards soft questions, right? And there are also, for the reason, besides your technical abilities, you will have to spend at least 8 hours a day with the other people. And guess what? It's more time than you spend with your loved relatives, your kids, your partners, your wives, or husbands. What that means is that cultural fit is a big thing nowadays. Very big. Because if you're not culturally fit, team will be very uncomfortable to work with you, even if you're rock star in coding. So be prepared to talk about what we call soft skills, right? And people are going to ask you about very interesting questions, sometimes even psychological questions, such as what if you get conflict situation with your coworker? What are you going to do? What if you're going to get a negative feedback from your manager, which means like myself, right? I'm your manager, I'm interviewing right now. What are you going to do about this? And nowadays people ask all these questions, right? What if you have an assignment that you cannot fulfill on time, right? What are you going to do about this? How are you going to act? And nowadays, more and more people asking about these questions. They might even ask you, what's your hobby, right? What do you do after work? They want to make sure that you as the person, your personality fit into the team, because they want to make sure they can communicate with you with a human being, not a robot, right? You're a human being. You want to make sure that you culturally fit in the team. Okay. They may ask you questions about I have a few questions right now on my second monitor that our students from previous classes brought to me, right? For instance, they might like if you've been working in testing industry for a while, they might ask you, how did you get into testing, and what do you like about being a tester? A lot of people get caught off guard because they never thought about this. Like, I mean, I got in testing by accident, right? But what do I like about testing? You have to be prepared for such questions, right? Or like, what are the top 3 skills in resume that you feel the strongest about? And what are 3 that you feel the least confident in? That's a great question. Everybody can talk about their, about the strong sides. They can leverage themselves. They can praise themselves. They have so much pride in themselves because everybody loves what they do the best, but nobody wants to talk about their weak parts. And that's exactly what people want to hear about you. What is actually, you are bad at, and what are you going to do about this, right? And this is very, very important, how to answer to those questions. And a lot of people get like, oh my God, I know what to answer. You can always turn the negative things into positive things. And let me give you an example. I'll give you one of the examples because we're limited on time. But for instance, you can say my 3 strongest skills, or you can say my one of the strongest skills is communication, right? Whenever I feel there's a problem, I know how to find key people, how to organize the teams to solve the problem. Communication is my strongest skill. However, probably I would say only something I'm not very confident in is my perfectionism. And these are interesting. What a perfectionism sounds like a good thing. So when you are a perfectionist, means you always try to do work the best you can. However, in a software development, it could be also a negative thing, which played for me a couple times, a negative feedback. For instance, I was working the project, which is supposed to be delivered on time, let's say on June 1st. And because of my perfectionism, I try to do it the best I can, right? With the best quality I can. I was missing by the week. And again, it's not because I didn't want to deliver this, it's because I want to make the best job I can. So what it means, I have to learn how to cut corners and give up some risks, right? To achieve the project on time. So I'm trying to self-discipline myself and try to analyze what I do and pick up the most important crucial points of my job in order to deliver on time and just give up my perfectionism. Boom, right? You said about negative thing, but it sounds like a positive thing. That's what you want to think about those things ahead of time. Very, very important. Again, if you're gonna go through every aspect I talked during today's session, I guarantee you will be on top 10% of people in industry.